Ethan Cole sat in his corner office, the city lights shimmering like 1,000 promises he no longer believed in. On his desk lay an ivory-colored envelope, embossed with gold lettering, the annual charity gala invitation. Most CEOs would see it as a stage to flaunt power, to shake hands, to be seen. Ethan only saw another reminder of what he lacked. He could handle negotiations worth millions, but the thought of walking into that ballroom alone, with whispers following him about his missing wife, left him hollow. His wife had passed years ago, and since then, the world had praised him as a brilliant leader, a man who had it all. But behind the sharp suits and success was just a father who read bedtime stories with tired eyes, a man who made pancakes too thin and wore his daughter's paint-stained handprints on his shirts like medals. That afternoon, Lily wandered into the office, curls bouncing, holding a crayon drawing of the two of them. "Daddy," she said, sliding into his lap, "can we not be alone this time? Can someone come with us to the party?" Her voice was soft but full of longing. Ethan's chest tightened. He could withstand boardroom battles, but not this. Not his daughter's unspoken wish for something he wasn't sure how to give. He smoothed her hair and kissed her forehead, his mind already racing. Maybe, just maybe, for one night, he could find someone to stand beside them, even if only as pretend. Ethan wasn't proud of the decision, but he couldn't bear the thought of disappointing Lily. So, after a few discreet calls, he arranged for someone to accompany them. When the evening came, Grace stepped into their apartment, not at all what he expected. She wasn't glamorous in a polished, high-society way. Instead, she wore a simple navy dress, her smile kind rather than calculated. Ethan had prepared himself for awkward introductions, forced politeness, maybe even shallow conversation. But before he could even explain the plan, Grace's attention was drawn to Lily. She knelt down, right there in the hallway, so she was eye level with the little girl, and said, "Hi, I'm Grace. That's a beautiful drawing you're holding, did you make it?" Lily's shyness melted almost instantly. She beamed, holding the picture up proudly, and began describing each detail, the crooked house, the stick-figure dog, the sun with too many rays. Grace listened as though it were the most important story in the world, laughing in all the right places, asking questions, and nodding with wide-eyed wonder. Ethan stood back, surprised. He had hired someone to fill a role, but in that moment, Grace wasn't acting. She was simply present, offering Lily something no contract could dictate, genuine warmth. For the first time in years, Ethan felt the edges of his carefully constructed armor soften. Watching them together, he wondered if this evening would be far more complicated, and meaningful, than he had ever intended. The gala shimmered with crystal chandeliers, the hum of conversation, and the clinking of glasses. Ethan moved through the crowd, introducing Grace as if she'd always been by his side. To his surprise, it felt natural. Colleagues nodded approvingly, whispering about the CEO's perfect family. For once, instead of pity, there was admiration. But Ethan's attention wasn't on them, it was on Lily. She laughed more that night than he had seen in months, twirling in her little dress as Grace cheered her on, never once treating her like an afterthought. Ethan caught himself smiling, not because of the room's respect, but because his daughter was happy. Later, back at the apartment, the spell of the evening lingered. Grace slipped on her coat, ready to leave, when Lily rushed forward and wrapped her tiny arms around her waist. "Don't go," Lily whispered, her eyes wide and pleading. "Can she stay forever, Daddy?" The question hung in the air, heavier than any boardroom decision Ethan had ever faced. He opened his mouth, but no words came. This wasn't business. This wasn't something money could fix. He saw Grace's eyes soften, touched by the little girl's innocence, and in that moment, Ethan's heart cracked open. What had begun as a temporary arrangement had become something Lily yearned for, a piece of family she had been missing all along. Ethan suddenly realized he wasn't the only one searching for something more. Grace hesitated at the door, her coat draped over her arm, her eyes flickering between Ethan and Lily. I wasn't supposed to mean anything more than tonight, she admitted quietly, her voice carrying both honesty and an ache she hadn't expected to feel. But your daughter, she makes it hard to walk away. Ethan stood frozen, his chest tight. For years, he had kept his world neatly divided. Work on one side, fatherhood on the other, with no space for anything that might unsettle the balance. He had believed control was safety, that schedules and discipline could protect Lily from the emptiness he himself felt. But looking at Grace, looking at Lily clinging to her hand as if she'd found something irreplaceable, he realized how wrong he'd been. Grace brushed a curl from Lily's forehead and smiled, though her eyes shone with unshed tears. You don't need someone to impress the world, Ethan. You both just need someone to be here. Her words struck deeper than any criticism or compliment he'd ever heard in a boardroom. Ethan, the man who prided himself on solutions and strategies, suddenly saw the truth. The one thing his daughter longed for was not perfection, but presence. Not wealth, but warmth. And for the first time in years, he admitted to himself that he wanted it too. Standing there, caught between fear and possibility, Ethan felt the walls around his heart begin to crumble, making space for something new, something real. The next morning, the sunlight spilled through the windows, painting the living room in gold. Ethan brewed coffee, his mind restless after a night of turning over Lily's words again and again. When Grace appeared at the door to return the scarf Lily had draped around her the night before, Ethan didn't let her leave so quickly this time. Instead, he asked softly, almost humbly, "Would you stay for breakfast? Not as a hired guest. Just as you." Grace hesitated, then nodded, setting the scarf on the counter. Lily squealed with delight, rushing forward to pull Grace toward the table already set with pancakes, slightly burned at the edges. Grace laughed and joined them, folding herself into the moment as naturally as if she'd always belonged. Ethan watched the two of them together. His daughter glowing with joy, Grace leaning in with genuine affection, and something inside him shifted. For years, he had thought strength was measured by how much he could shoulder alone. But as Lily's laughter filled the room and Grace's smile warmed the space, he realized strength could also mean opening the door to someone who cared. Ethan reached across the table, his hand brushing Grace's as he whispered, "Maybe Lily's right. Maybe forever isn't such a bad idea." Grace's eyes met his, tender and steady, and Lily clapped her hands, declaring, "Now we're a family." In that simple, imperfect kitchen, surrounded by burnt pancakes and unspoken promises, Ethan discovered a truth he'd been chasing all along: love doesn't always arrive the way you plan, but when it does, it can turn even the loneliest house into a home.